Okay, so I asked you who is responsible for dichotomous Keen, aka binomial nomenclature. Um, not the chemistry nomenclature, folks, right? I don't want to get into the big conversation again. Ben Franklin, oh good, yes, Linnaeus, the Linnean system, correct? I wish, no, I don't, because I'd be dead, right? Vladimir Putin, oh my lord. Okay, so yes, definitely the Linnean system, binomial nomenclature. Remember, before Linnean, they had this polynomial naming system where you had to list everything in this long, huge Latin name. Redunculus, right? So this led to the whole idea of systematic biology. We need a system to classify and organize and taxonomize our organisms. I don't know if taxonomize is a word, but I used it, and I'm going to keep using it. Yeah, I didn't make illustrative up. The AP College Board made that up, so I will not. No. I promise. I promise I will take you to the AP College Board site. It is. They did make their own word up. I didn't just come up with that. I promise. Okay. I had to check myself because I went to the training for 2 weeks over the summer and sat and listened to them say it that way, and I'm like, that does not sound, something's wrong here. What's going on? So taxonomy is the branch of biology concerned with identifying, naming, and classifying organisms. Now, a natural system of classification reflects the evolutionary history of organisms. And so we just talked about evolution. Now we're going to talk about classifying based on evolutionary relatedness. So naming and identifying organisms began with the Greeks and Romans. Aristotle classified organisms into groups such as horses, birds, and oaks. And the more they got into classifying things, the more they found out it's not always as simple as what they thought, especially when you start using genetics. Now, in the Middle Ages, organisms were described using Latin names. So we understand Latin is the root of all language. Science is pretty old, too, so that's why Latin is always used in biology. I always said it'd be a good idea for anybody that's looking into being a doctor or anybody in the medical field, Mr. Melks, actually takes a class in Latin. Okay? So if you guys have an opportunity as an elective, instead of taking art or not in high school, I mean in college, they make you take these humanities credits. I would suggest maybe instead of taking even French or Spanish, taking Latin, especially if you're heading in the medical realm. It will help you immensely with medical terminology, anatomy, and all of your classes that you will take after that. You basically don't need to look words up if you know the root, because they tell you what they mean. Like homo, same, right? Stasis, state or condition of. So that word is Latin. What? I'm sorry. Oh, stenosis, like the stent narrowing of the, yep, exactly. So in the Middle Ages, organisms were described using Latin names, and we came up with this system where we could classify any given organism. And I'm going to ask you guys to give me your pneumatic naming system from everything from domain to species. How do you remember it? For me, it's decorative kites possess color, order, for good sight. What is your pneumatic naming system for all the way from domain down to species? Share it out. Keep it PG. If you can't type it in, just say, mine is in my head, Mr. Mason, and I cannot share it. I honestly don't care how you remember it as long as you remember it. If you use mine, that's cool. Don't kill puppies because the family gets sad. I like that one. Don't kill people because of fluffy goats. Decorative kites possess color, order, for good sight. I like that one. Demonic kittens possess claws of fear, growling scarily. I don't need to remember. Vladimir Putin does that for me. Oh, good Lord. Is that what the other computer is? Okay, all right. It's all Vladimir? Okay. We're going to have an alter ego of Vladimir Putin in our class. Don't kill people because of fluffy goat spaces. Don't kill public. Okay. Just remember it. Don't call pacifist killers or fire gets saucy. I don't get that one. I can't say. That's how you remember it? Okay, all right. Oh, all right. I can't say it, and you don't want to know. Okay, I got you. That's legal. All right. So, systematics. In the mid-18th century, Carolus Linnaeus developed, and none of you spelled that right. I don't think a couple of you might have. Did you? I think I saw one spelled right. Developed the system of binomial nomenclature. So let's even break binomial down into Latin. Bi means two. Nome in French means name. It's put on top of paper. So the two naming system, and then nomenclature, if it's a nome, it's name again, and clature is to write, right? So to scribe naming using two names. So the first word is the genus name, and the second word is the specific epithet. Now, when I say specific epithet, I'm referring, of course, to the species. So it refers to one species of potentially many within its own genus. Now, a species is referred to by the full binomial name, saying both genus and species. And you'll notice genus is always capitalized and species is lowercase, and then the whole thing should be italicized. So genus name can be used alone to refer to a group of related species. So if I were referring to the group of, well, there's only one in our group, right? That's why we're Homo, and then sapien. The reason that Homo sapiens genus is Homo is because there's only one single species within that genus, that's us. Okay? All the other ones are extinct. How egocentric we are, right? We just said, we are the one, Homo. So this is Linnaeus. Okay, history buffs. Why do they wear the wig? It's the Victorian style. Okay. Did they wash their hair very often? No. I don't even want to know what that sounded like. So it could have been. Yeah, like they had lice. Probably just put it on. Yeah. I don't know. So this is Carl Linnaeus. Funny looking guy. Looks like a red coat. What? Looks like who? Oh, I gotcha. So these two are both in the same genus, but you'll notice they have different species. Both lilies, Lilium, but then two different species names, one Bulbiforum and one I cannot even read from here, Canadense, okay? So two different species of the same genus. It's kind of sad we don't have anybody else in our genus, isn't it? Yeah. What? Yeah. Now, modern taxonomists use the following classification. You guys just rattled through it. Species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, kingdom, and domain. Now, if I ask you the question, which one only has one in it, of course you tell me species. Okay? Domain being the largest. Domain is, of course, referring to the basic cell type at that point. Which of these different levels of classification was the last to be identified? Which of those was the last to be identified? Which of those was the last to be identified? Yes. Which of those was the last to be identified? There's a clue right in front of you. I bet. I've got 3 at home. I got 3. Yeah. But I teach online, so like I'll have 3 different classes going on at the same time. Come on now, I'm waiting for a couple more. Jesus. All right, let's see what happens here. Mr. Mason, what? Domain, yes. Domain, for sure. Not the species. You know, your mind automatically goes to species because it's like the most specific. Did I say Pacific? Specific, sorry. It's the most specific, but what is the domain referring to? The cell type, right? And you look at the microscope in front of you and you realize that didn't come around until a lot later, and especially the modern microscope, and then identifying the different types of bacteria and things like that, like bacteria and then eubacteria, all right? And so the domain system was the last one to be identified. So we start way out here at the domain level, and we keep working our way in until we get, of course, to our classes, and then things really start to narrow down, and eventually you end up with only one specific species within several different grouping of species in a genus. Okay? So looking at systematic biology a little further, the higher the category, the more inclusive. So if we get up to domain, it's less inclusive. Imagine all the eukaryotes. We're talking about even single-celled protozoan in pond water at that point. Now, organisms in the same domain have general characteristics in common, and members of a species share several specific characteristics. Which one were we on? I think I need to log in. I just forgot I left you here without anything to do. Sorry about that. It's pretty boring, though. And we need to open Chapter 12 Insight Test. And you still working on that one? Go ahead. So members of a species share very specific characteristics, and the task of creating standardized rules of nomenclature is difficult and has most recently been aided by the process of DNA barcoding, looking at the actual genetics, right? This is what I would use. I don't like just looking at an animal. Like, I went over to Wildlife the other day. I'm not picking on them because it's good that they're learning like binomial nomenclature, but they have them classifying the bugs right down to the genus and species. And I've taken 3 college-level entomology classes, and you cannot do that unless you do genetics on the bugs. So they usually only have you go down to like the family, maybe the genus, but usually just the family. So you put the bugs into the correct family and generally identify them by the family they're in. You might be able to get them to the genus level, but never the species. You'll never be able to identify the species. I shouldn't say never. More probable out of 100 different bugs, you won't be able to. Unless you spent your whole life studying bugs, and then you would be an entomologist, then you'd be able to do that. But sometimes you can, though. Like a tree. Is a tree pretty big? Yeah, and so a tree is a lot easier to identify. You can look at the veins of the leaves. They have larger organs and structures. You can actually get them down to the genus and species. Like a white oak is Quercus alba. Red oak is Quercus rubra. Those are easy ones. But this compares the short fragments of DNA sequences from an unknown organism to a large database of sequences from known organisms. So now part of doing taxonomy is actually doing a DNA fingerprint and doing a genomic genome background check, so to speak, on a species to see if it is actually new. And so they do use a lot of biotechnology. You guys told me you were working on it. Yeah. Okay. They do use a lot of biotechnology now to just classify organisms, which is really neat. I like that they do it that way now. It leaves little room for error. It also helps solidify evolutionary theory into something that is no longer controversial. Now, traditionally, taxonomists relied on anatomical data. The Consortium for the Barcodes of Life, that's CBOL, okay, proposes that all scientists will be able to identify a species with a flick of a handheld scanner. So their idea is to develop a scanner that can actually scan the cellular nucleus to see, or the cell's nuclei, to see what the genetic makeup is. So imagine, if you have diabetes, you prick your finger, you check your blood type. Now just imagine scraping a little bit of, maybe a few cells off, putting it in a scanner, and it would tell you what this species was, which is kind of cool. We could create this huge catalog. Who's doing, oh, this isn't biotech. Who had biotech? You guys remember the Frozen Zoo? Okay, it's that idea, okay? Trying to create a library, so to speak, of DNA. So like the 11-digit universal product code used in the supermarket, you'd be able to just scan and check to see what a species was, like check its genus and species. Imagine if you could take a walk in the woods with a scanner, walk up to a plant, scan it, and its identity would come up. That would be crazy, right? You guys should come up with one of those. Just be a billionaire overnight, right? I always thought it'd be cool to have an app. Like you took a picture of a plant or a leaf, and then it would tell you what that was, but that'd be so hard to do. There'd be so many points of identification. It would just be. They do have a National Audubon app that allows you to do it yourself manually, but you can take a picture and it'll get you pretty close, but it doesn't have the actual DNA fingerprint going on. So a DNA barcoding device would provide a fast and inexpensive way to catalog organisms. It'd be like, let's check the biodiversity of this ecosystem. We'd walk out and we'd scan the forest, basically. Yeah, I don't know if I want to get there. I don't know if I like that so much. Kind of creepy, isn't it? But then imagine you take it to another level. You could like scan planets then, right? To see if there would be like natural resources or cures there, medicines. We could. They send a probe out. I'm not talking us. I mean a little tiny, like droid, like Star Wars type stuff, So let's stop there. It's Friday. Let's stop there. Oh, you want one more question? I can do that. What are you doing this weekend? Tell me. Talk to me. What is the most interesting thing that will happen all weekend? And you should be telling me reading chapter 19 because I didn't, Mr. Mason. I couldn't name Linian. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Riding horses with Vladimir Putin and wrestling bears, right? Didn't he wrestle a bear? Tiger. No, he wrestled a bear. I saw. Probably both knowing him. What do you have, like a stuffed tiger and a stuffed bear, and he like. Well, I'm recording because you guys asked me to ask you another question, so I did. The Lions destroying the Dolphins, finishing. Yes, Scientology is true, and law. Okay. It's an 8-foot joke. Oh. Heart of Darkness and an oil change. Ooh, I like the Heart of Darkness. Who's reading the Heart of Darkness? Oh. I actually like that book. I had a good teacher with that one, I think. After you're done reading that, watch Apocalypse Now. Killing a deer. Who's killing a deer? I'm going to kill a deer tomorrow morning. I already got him picked out. I do. Scan him with my scope. Working with Little Caesars. Come get pizza from me. Who is that? Oh. Eagle Board and Senior Pictures. That's Nye. Trying to catch up on my. Oh. Senor? You going? Well, they got like a Spanish extension project or something. Trying to catch up on my homework. Getting a car. Who's getting a car? You can't even focus on your notes for like 30 minutes, and you got to drive down the road. Oh my word. Oh my word. It is scary. That's going to be on YouTube now. Getting booted from my house. I don't want to know about the details on that one. Watch college football. Cabaret. Yep, please come. Go to Cabaret, right? That's singing, right? Reading chapter. I don't know what that is. I have CBO. CBOA. Okay, I'm done with that. Yeah, CBOA. I got it. Okay. He's probably like hacking us right now.